Hello, dear friends. Let's get started with our weekly horoscope. We have an interesting week with lots of Saturn and Neptune influence. And that is not a very easy combination because it's kind of a contradictory. So we need to find the balance between being serious, organized, responsible, conservative, but on the other side, also creative and intuitive without dropping into one of the other kind of like more negative polarities of those planets. For example, the Neptune energy that can make us too chaotic or confused or kind of like irresponsible, or the Saturn way to be too rigid or kind of, scared of new things or too pessimistic. So we will explore which are those aspects, but especially on Tuesday, when we have a full moon that triggers Saturn and Neptune, also Thursday and the weekend, those are like the most intense days when we really need to think about this balance. Now, how does the week begin? On Monday, we have Mercury ingressing Gemini. And this is a very nice position because Mercury is ruling this sign. So we can focus more on communication, negotiations, planning, some new ideas, and overall things may happen faster when it comes to coming up with the ideas and maybe even executing on them and being able to make the right connections between, for example, finding the right resources or connecting with the right people, or just feeling like, your mind is working with its normal speed or maybe even faster than normal. Because for the past weeks when Mercury was not only retrograde but also in Taurus, things might have been kind of slow, or we might have felt like, well, maybe we have some ideas, but things are so slow, or we are kind of stuck. So anyway, that's in the past. Now Mercury is direct and also about to move to Gemini. So we can work on full speed, especially when it comes to ideas and executing those ideas. Specifically on Monday, we also have an aspect between the Sun and Pluto, which is a nice one. So it's a great time to concentrate on some really important projects that we are passionate about, projects that require also more confidence, more strength, or maybe even support from some powerful figures or government figures or anything within those lines. And the moon is in Sagittarius, which also supports like a long-term vision, planning, a positive approach, and overall the day can be positive and productive. On Tuesday, we have the full moon which triggers Sagittarius and Gemini. So great time to think about ideas and planning, and specifically find the connection between your long-term goals and also the more present actions you need to take. And you might make some changes in terms of your priorities, in terms of goal setting and planning. And as I told you, this is one of those days when we need to find the balance between Saturn and Neptune. Saturn is having positive aspects with the full moon. Neptune is having squares, so challenging aspects. What this means is that we need to rely more on our logic. We should try to get rid of some unrealistic expectations, take off the pink glasses, and all of our idealized visions, desires, and perspectives. It's not the right time. Instead, we need to get very practical and grounded, specifically in regards to those long-term goals or plans or whatever we are focusing on. So it's time to be responsible, grounded, and practical. On Wednesday, we have a minor challenging aspect between Venus and Jupiter. So there could be some kind of frustrations when it comes to desires or financial planning, or maybe even in terms of relationships. It's not a really negative aspect, but it can bring a frustration, like, for example, it should have been better, or this person should have been nicer to me, like something related to this. But again, it's not something really disturbing or problematic, but it can make us take things more personally, especially if we feel like we are not getting the respect we deserve. The moon is in Capricorn on Wednesday, so we need to get very serious and practical with our tasks and probably rely more on routine things. It's not the best time for too much experimenting or too many innovations, I would say. Instead, try to stick to whatever works well for you, and again, to be more grounded. On Thursday, we have a pretty interesting combination. The Sun is having an exact trine with Saturn and exact square with Neptune. So this is like probably the culmination of this contradiction that I mentioned in the beginning. And again, Saturn is providing help, which means stick to whatever works for you. Rely on the well-known, on tradition, on some practices that are proven over time, or also rely on people that are responsible. So Neptune is not really helping. Neptune is having a square with the Sun. So you might be tempted to believe in something, to wish for something to be better or different, or all kinds of unrealistic visions can show up for you. Try to be grounded and don't chase, what was this expression? Something like, the butterflies or something like that. So again, you can have nice results if you stick to whatever already works. On the other side, Venus, again on Thursday, is having a conjunction with the North Node, which can be especially interesting for relationships. And we might have a different perspective, different vision, something that can be somehow related also to the future. So think about your personal life, your desires, the people you love. This can also be a priority. And the moon is in Capricorn, which again brings even more focus to our work and responsibilities and the need to stick to whatever works. Friday, on the other side, is different. Friday can be a much better day for experiments, for innovations, for trying new things, for thinking out of the box, and even taking actions which are not so routine, because Mars is having a nice aspect with Uranus and the moon is in Aquarius. So both of those indications can support something innovative, something more creative, something which is kind of an experiment, or something which is more unpredictable. So it can be related to work or personal relationships or some kind of social activities as well. Overall, this is a dynamic day that can bring some variety, excitement, and pleasant experiences, hopefully. Saturday. On Saturday, we have a challenging aspect between Venus and Saturn. And both of the planets are pretty strong. Venus is in Taurus, sign of rulership. Saturn is in Aquarius, also sign of rulership. So, big conflict. And in terms of relationships, financial matters, we might experience some difficulties. People might be kind of closed or suspicious or not very open and warm with us. We might realize also that we need to give up on something, or we need to put extra effort in order to get something. So if we are very unrealistic, this may feel quite challenging. It may feel like a huge disappointment. If we are trying to be more realistic, this may just look like an opportunity or like a realization to see that we need to work harder to get what we want, which may also be fine. So the personal perspective will be very important, but again, we need to stay grounded and realistic without also going to the other polarity of being too pessimistic and negative about things. And the moon in Aquarius may support this more open-minded perspective, like try to see things from above, or maybe even from the perspective of time, like whatever has happened or is happening or is bothering you, a year from now, 5 years from now, would it matter? Probably not. So then you might decide for yourself if you need to be too upset for it or not. And if it will matter, then it just means that you need to work harder on it, and that's absolutely normal as well. And finally, Sunday, again, another Venus aspect, but quite different. It will be a sextile with Neptune. So it's a much better way for dreaming, for creative work, for dates, relationships, romantic experiences. We might use our intuition again, our creativity. The moon is also in Pisces, which basically supports the same things. We may not be very concrete, practical, willing to focus on hard work, but for relaxation, for spending time with people we love, this can be quite nice. And the moon, not the moon, the sun has a quincunx with Pluto, which can also allow us to transform certain things, make some significant changes, or feel more determined about something. So the week is really offering us different experiences. We have some energies that can help us to be more productive and more open. The full moon, which overall accentuates things and probably requires some decision making. And then switching in between those sides or polarities, the need to be very practical, but also open-minded, and then perhaps change something, but also, again, stay grounded. So it's a little bit of a mixture, but it can be also very creative. So that's our upcoming week. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you soon.